Hello, everybody. My name is Karim Samra. I'm the founder at Changelabs, and it's really a pleasure to be here today with you at the Techne Summit in Alexandria to talk about what I believe is the next $1 trillion opportunity that most of us aren't even aware of. So I'm going to start today with talking a little bit about my background and how I got here. And I'm going to build up the suspense until I get to the next topic, which is the next $1 trillion opportunity. And then I will give you some tips. Because I wasn't able to attend in person this year, unfortunately, and I'm so sorry about that, we may not be able to have a live Q&A, but certainly I will share my contact information with all of you after the session, and you can feel free to reach out to me. So let's get started. Let me talk first about, my pathway. So the title that I have here is You Have to Get Comfortable Fast with Taking the Road Less Traveled. And there have been a number of defining moments in my career and in my journey that I wanted to mention here in case it's useful for all of you listening. The number one thing I did, which was defining, is I chose to study history. And most of you are probably wondering why I did that. It was just what I was interested in. It's what I chose. It was against the will of my parents. My parents were not happy. My dad is a doctor. We're Egyptian originally. So, you know already what that means. But I did choose history right away at a young age against the grain. The second thing I did, which I think was a defining moment, is after graduating from college and getting a job at a major technology firm, EMC Squared at the time. Some of you may be familiar with it. I found myself in a cubicle with hundreds of other people just like me. It was a really big, huge room in Boston, right? EMC Squared is headquartered in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. And I sat there one day wondering to myself, what am I doing here? Why am I in a cubicle with dozens of other people? The work I was doing was not exciting. It was boring. Yes, I was learning, but I just couldn't stand it. And so one day, I literally stood up and walked out the door and never came back. Now, I'm not recommending this as an exit strategy. There are better ways to exit, but that's what I did. I quit the cubicle, and I quit it in a very sudden and immediate way. I couldn't handle it. And I decided eventually to go back to school. And I went to New York, and I went to get my MBA from NYU Stern, which was a great decision, of course. But I want to let you know that it was a personal decision that took me to New York to do my MBA. It wasn't, of course, it's a top 10 school. I was a merit-based scholarship recipient, but I made a personal decision, because I wanted to be near someone in New York. I made a personal decision to go back there. Yet it proved to be a very valuable decision. And so sometimes, I found that when you follow your heart, even if it's the road less traveled, you follow your heart and you let your heart guide you when making decisions, that can actually work. After New York City, I moved back to Egypt. For the first time in my life, I was raised abroad my whole life. For the first time in my life, I moved back to Egypt. That was a defining decision. Working with in Egypt with Egyptians for the first time, with Booz and Company, advising the Minister of Finance at the time, working on really strategic deals for our country and for my country. Made me appreciate the value of that, something I had never experienced before. And yet, I still did move back to New York City after that, did consulting, I did banking, I worked on Wall Street. I found myself again, though, after a number of years, having moved back to New York City, back in a cubicle. Now, it was a fancier cubicle. It was a better paid cubicle. It was a much more prestigious cubicle on a much more expensive street, but it was still a cubicle. And so I reached the stage again, and again, this was a defining moment in my life, number 2 or number 4 here, according to the list. I quit again the cubicle. And this time I quit it and I chose a completely different career, a career in impact. So a social enterprise impact. So working with companies and startups and a foundation that supports young entrepreneurs trying to launch their impact-centered startups, trying to change the world. And at the time, when I quit the cubicle the second time, I joined a company called The Whole Prize, and I chose impact effectively. And then the last defining moment, I think, after that was once I've joined The Whole Prize, gained all the experience, I ended up quitting that too, not quitting in a bad way, quitting in a good way, and founding Changelabs, and then eventually doubling down on Changelabs. So that's sort of the quick history, my history, very quickly. I think one of the things we all have to appreciate is that in this sector, in the impact sector, in the social enterprise sectors, in the startups and entrepreneurship sector, like in any other, expertise and experience is very valuable, and not many people have it. And so you have to find a way to build that expertise over time, and then before you can actually start really operating properly in this industry. And what you build, of course, as an entrepreneur grows slowly in the beginning and then in bursts later on, but you have to listen to the market and you have to believe in what you're building and understand that what you're building is important and valuable to you, and it has to be meaningful. But you also have to understand how much chance ends up playing a role. You know, after I left my previous employer and joined and founded Changelabs, I got recruited by my previous employer, and my previous employer asked me to not do this, to come back in. They offered me more money. They offered me more, to be in a better location. They offered me a lot of enticing things, but I was willing to double down on Changelabs. And they told me to shut down Changelabs. They said, shut it down, come back to us, and we'll give you a lot more. But I wasn't ready to do that. I was committed to what I was founding, and I doubled down on Changelabs. And then a couple of months later, we got at Changelabs some significant deals. Who would have known? And this is where I say chance. I mean, who would have known that a couple months after I was asked to shut down my company, we would get major deals with major governments around the world and be able to build some of the most exciting entrepreneurship programs in the world. Nobody would have been able to tell. And, yes, hard work plays a role, but chance plays a role. And whether you call chance God or the heavens or anything, chance and God or whatever you believe in plays a role beyond just your personal success or hard work. Now, today, in 2019, Changelabs, the accelerator I founded, the company I founded was rated a top 10 MENA accelerator by Magnet. We're running programs in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Egypt, multiple programs a year. We're working with companies like Amazon, with governments, with the Dutch Development Bank. So we've made tremendous progress since founding, and none of that would have been possible without, of course, hard work and chance. And I'm very blessed to be here. We've worked with startups in the education space, in the health tech space, in the agri-tech space. These are some examples. We've worked with dozens of startups in the MENA region, and it's been really an honor for me to do so. And again, we're trusted now by entrepreneurs, by supporting organizations, by governments. It's really nice to find that when a government or a development bank from Europe issues a new RFP, they call us and say, hey, Changelabs, we want you guys to apply. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that was unimaginable. Nobody even knew who we were. So it's really exciting to be here today with you guys. Here's some quick stats on how far we've come. And it's really, again, it's an honor to be here. And then I want to jump right into my topic today. I've given you some background on who I am for those of you that don't know me and how I got here. I'd like to now spend some time on the next, what I believe is the next $1 trillion opportunity, because I think every one of you needs to know this and can take advantage of it for your own good. Whether you run a business, whether you're an entrepreneur that has a startup, whether you're a young student seeking employment, regardless of where you are in life, I believe you can take advantage of this $1 trillion opportunity that I'm about to talk about. It's a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. And of course, what I'm talking about is impact investing, right? The global impact investing market totaled $500 billion at the end of 2018. Okay, and by the way, when I started writing this presentation, I called it the next $1 billion opportunity. And then, over the course of writing it, I had to change it to trillion. I mean, that's the kind of market we're looking at here. It's going to be $1 trillion market very soon, right? And why, and understanding why that is, and understanding what that means for us and for companies around the MENA region is critically important in remaining competitive and in taking a leadership role over time. And so you'll notice that, the interest amongst the general population and millennials is increasing, okay, in sustainable investing. But why? Why is that happening? I bet you know this, but you just maybe never thought about it, but you know it. You know that your aunt is starting to eat healthy. You know that your friends are trying to stay away from meat, for example, and doing a little bit more vegetarian. You know that the restaurant you usually go to has now launched a vegan menu option. You know that McDonald's has just launched the Impossible Burger, and you're wondering, why the hell are they doing that? And you're also noticing that, companies are now focusing on green energy, that when you see advertisements by Shell, Shell Oil or some of the other big major oil companies, you find them talking about green energy. Why? Why are all these companies, both large and small, talking about green energy now, talking about vegetarian food, talking about organic food? You may have gone to the supermarket and suddenly you see an organic aisle. There's a whole aisle just for organic foods. They're priced much more expensively, but they're all there suddenly. They appear. These are signs, these are flags, right? That consumers, both the general population and especially millennials, the younger generations that are coming up, are demanding ethical products, sustainable products, green products. They want products that when they spend their money, they'd like to know that the products they're buying were sourced from the right places, are healthy, improve outcomes, and do not harm them, right? But the major change that's taken place, I think, in the last couple of years. So you guys are aware about the organic, about the food, the green energy, right? The health, okay? Changes happening in the world. And these changes, by the way, are going to create billions of dollars of value, and they're going to save billions of dollars of money as well. Because when you rely less on resources that waste water, for example, using the beef example, when you can rely less on beef consumes huge amounts of water. Right? 1 kilogram of beef takes massive amounts of water to grow, whereas a kilogram of the vegetables used in your vegan burger take a lot less. And when you do that, you save money and the world saves value, okay? And in addition, when you start making investments in these new areas, you also create value. And so, but again, I wanted to mention what's important on this slide is that the key factor to note, or the key changes that have taken place more recently, is that millennials and older generations now understand that it's not just the right thing to do to invest in these impact enterprises or in the impact market, it's also good business. And so they're realizing, and here the tables show this, that they say, we believe we can actually make more money by investing in impact, higher profitability. And by the way, guys, the biggest companies in the world already know this. You may not know it, but they do. They don't talk about it openly, but they know that making the right investments in products that improve outcomes for customer and community is good business, right? When Nestle starts launching healthy products, when McDonald's or Burger King launch their vegan burgers, when the restaurant next door to you adds vegan menu items to their offering, this is because they realize that it's not only the right thing to do, it's also a good business. When we start using biodegradable packaging, right? When we start worrying about the impact that our plastic use has on the environment, that's the right thing to do. Of course it is, but it's also becoming good business. And I think it's really important to realize that. So number one, the trends, the consumer behavior, right? The behaviors of millennials are all moving in the same direction towards impact, towards green, towards eco-friendly, okay? But what else is happening that's critically important that we have to all understand? Well, there's a massive intergenerational, once in a sort of generation, wealth transfer happening. Okay, $60 trillion by 2060 is going to be passed into the hands of impact-focused millennials. The older generation will move on. The younger millennials that I'm talking about will take over the financial decisions, the investment portfolios, okay, the banks, all of the governments, all of the organizations that we're used to working with and dealing with that constitute the current system or the current world order are going to be taken over by millennials. And in the process, $60 trillion of wealth are going to be transferred. Those are the same millennials that are demanding impact-centered products. Those are the same millennials that want to buy eco-friendly packaging, that want to eat the Impossible Burger at McDonald's, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so what that means is that you have a massive, massive market movement happening across the world while we're alive. And we're not only seeing it and witnessing it, but we are now aware of it. And we have to think about that and apply it to our industry. What does that mean about your industry? What does that mean about your startup? How will you move your startup in that direction? Because by the way, moving your startup in that direction means better serving your customers. It means making more money fundamentally. So if you understand this $1 trillion opportunity, if you really understand where it's coming from and why it's happening, you will move your business in that direction. Whether you're a CEO sitting at a bank or sitting at a big consumer goods company, or you're an entrepreneur with a young startup. And I think this is what Changelabs, was built upon. Changelabs, the organization that I co-founded, was built on helping startups move in the direction of impact. And it was helping impact-centered entrepreneurs succeed. And again, what you'll notice in this sector is that 50% of impact investing organizations made their first investment in the last 10 years. So it's a new sector. There's not much experience, okay? It's still new. The cards have not been dealt yet. And for some people, when they hear that, they might think to themselves, oh my goodness, that's risky because nobody's done it before. I don't know if it works. There's a lot of learnings, Sure, that's one way of thinking about it. But the other really good way of thinking about it, especially where we are, is, oh my God, that's a phenomenal opportunity for me to take the lead. And again, you all know that in the Middle East, we struggle to lead. We often follow, right? We follow the Western world. We follow Europe and the United States. We follow Asia, okay? This is an opportunity where the cards have not been dealt yet. So if we do things right, if we play it right, we can actually take the lead. We can launch products and services that are global leaders. And again, just an additional data point for you all, if you look at where the capital is coming from, where the investments are coming from, you'll find that the US and Canada and Western Europe together represent about 80% of the impact investors. So again, we're missing the boat. It's time for us to come together and start making impact investing an integral part of our strategy, especially given that, if you think about it, guys, the opportunity is the biggest in the developing world because impact investing requires big problems to solve, right? Social enterprises, companies that make money while also solving challenges are mostly those are going to be based in the developing world now and in the future. Okay, so massive opportunity. I want you guys to think about it. I don't have a lot of time today to go into all of the details, but I do want you guys to think about this incredible opportunity that's happening right before your eyes and take advantage of it. Consider it. Consider launching a new product. Consider trying to do something about it. You can take the lead. The cards have not been dealt. Okay, in technology, guys, we're 10, 15, 25, whatever it is, years behind. In impact investing and impact, we are not yet. And so I think we have an opportunity. Let me end with a few tips that I think are going to be very valuable and that I've, things that I've learned over the course of my journey, right? They may not apply to you, but number one is follow your heart no matter what. Remember the story where I went to business school, one of the top business schools in the world, and I wasn't there because, I was there because I was following my heart. I wanted to be near someone, and that was one of the closest schools, and I applied. I didn't even think I could get in. I really did not think I could get in, but I got in. I got a merit-based scholarship, and it was a defining moment in my career. So follow your heart. Take risks early on, but of course, calculated risks. Take risks early on, but risks that are aligned with what you believe in and what you're passionate about, okay? Don't be afraid to lead. Don't be afraid to go where other people have not gone. Society, your friends, your family, everybody around you puts so much pressure on you to do certain things and to choose a certain way. You don't have to do it. Choose your own way, okay? Empathy is greater than ego. Empathy is always greater than ego, guys. It's not about me. It's about teams. It's about helping other people. That's the most rewarding thing you can ever do. It's not about making a ton of money for yourself and living in a castle on a hill alone. It's really about being empathetic and helping others. And lastly, the last thing I'm going to leave you with is question absolutely everything. Nothing or not much is set in stone. Everything can change. And so I ask you to question everything around you, from the food you eat to the energy you consume to the roads you use. Everything can be changed and can be improved. And every one of those things is an opportunity, and a business opportunity specifically. So I'm going to leave you with that. I really appreciate your time today. Thanks for tuning in. If you want more information, follow at changelabs.me and reach out, and I'm happy to get to know you. My email, for those of you who would like it, is Karim, Karim, at changelabsme.org. Feel free to email me. Happy to meet anybody, and look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thanks very much. Goodbye.